But a big game is coming your way. Pittsburgh and Seattle. Hello, friends. Jim Nantz along with the legendary number 11 of the New York Giants, Phil Simms. Love the matchup. All excited. The two teams have met in Super Bowl 40, trying to keep hopes alive for Super Bowl 50.
Yeah, I love the matchup of the game, but I also love some of the matchups on the field. Antonio Brown, Pittsburgh's wide receiver, against Richard Sherman. It doesn't get better than that.
All right, this game is being broadcast in Spanish. We're available using the SAP button on your television. The Seahawks had the choice, and they elected to kick it away with Hauschka putting it on a tee. And presumably ready to send it down to Jacoby Jones, who was just claimed off waivers November the 5th after being released by San Diego. Hauschka will not give Jacoby a chance to touch the football. So we'll bring out Ben Roethlisberger and his first ever visit to the Emerald City. Coming off that remarkable performance week 10, 379 yards in relief of Landry Jones. No one would have thought that he could be upright for that game. Called into emergency duty early in the game, put together a monster performance. Welcome some of the audience here just in time for the first snap after a touchback on the opening kick. Jim Nantz, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson all on hand here in Seattle. Here's the pass over to Heath Miller, and he's bumped out after a gain of about 7. Matchup to watch on this offensive line. Alejandro Villanueva going against Cliff Averill most of the day. Of course, Antonio Brown has had, over the last 2 games, 27 total catches. Remarkable. Including over 400 yards. It's the first Steeler to have over 400 yards in a 2-game span in team history. 2nd and 3. Here's Roethlisberger. That one jarred out of the hands of Heath Miller by Bobby Wagner. The Seattle defense up front. Again, that matchup. Averill against Villanueva. KJ Wright having quite a season. Wagner in on that last play. And Shed gets the start for Kerry Williams. They made a change in the secondary. Shed, the 4th-year player, coming in for Kerry Williams as a starter. 3rd and 3 for the Steelers. And Roethlisberger's going for the long ball, and it's knocked out of the hands at the last moment. That was Shed down on the coverage, as it looked like just for a second that Bryant might come down with it.
Well, they put all the receivers to the left side, making the defense back up. But Ben Roethlisberger, the best thing he's done this year, of course, throwing the football well, playing well, but the deep throws down the field, he has been on target. Deshaun Shed, great play by him.
Jordan Berry to punt it to Tyler Lockett, the dangerous rookie return man, who signals fair catch at the 30. 43-yard punt brings out Russell Wilson. And the 5-5 Seahawks, who have led in the 4th quarter of every game this year. They've squandered 4th quarter leads in all the losses. His offensive line shapes up like this. They feel like things have solidified now that Patrick Lewis has taken hold of the center position. And Thomas Rawls, the rookie, 2nd leading rookie running back in the league behind Gurley of St. Louis, coming up 209 yards on the ground against the 49ers last Sunday. And Rawls is at the near side, lined up wide. Here's the pass to Lockett, who just had the fair catch, the rookie 3rd rounder from Kansas State, pickup of 11.
Soft coverage by the Steelers and an easy read for Russell Wilson. They want to get rid of the football on time. That's what this offense wants to do. And when you play soft coverage, nobody over the receiver, makes it easy for Russell Wilson.
Now Rawls lines up behind Wilson. Something you might see a lot of today, the handoff to the rookie from Central Michigan. And he spins and collects a nice gain here with his first carry. Give him 6. Cameron Hayward, one of the anchors on this newly constructed defensive line. Phil will talk about how that's shaped up now for the Steelers for the future. All first-round picks at linebacker, with Dupree moving into the lineup, and the safeties, including Mike Mitchell, have played well this year for Pittsburgh. Here's 2nd and 4. It's Rawls again, and he is into the secondary before Will Allen helped finish him off, but it's another nice gainer. This one's 17.
How about this for a free agent running back inside? You see Lewis getting the good block down the field to center. But Rawls, why is he here? Why do they want him as a free agent? Because he fits the style of this offense. Kind of reminds them of a young Marshawn Lynch. Runs with power and can make people miss.
And again, for those who don't know, Marshawn Lynch is going to be out for about a month after having a sports hernia surgery this past week. Here's the pass off the hands of Rawls. We talked with Rawls about how he has learned to catch the football and had a good game last week receiving it. That one, though, is not an easy catch. Rawls, you said it, undrafted after playing his final year at Central Michigan, starting his career at the University of Michigan. Played there for 3 years. Well, started only once.
Tremendous in preseason. Once he got the chance, when Marshawn Lynch got beat up, he has taken advantage of it big time.
2nd and 10 from the Pittsburgh 36, and whistles. Walt Anderson's crew on hand here today.
Ball start, number 76, offense. 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
Russell Okun, flag for that. I was about to mention about Tuitt and Hayward, McClendon over the nose, and starting to remind you of some of the good Pittsburgh defensive lines of not that long ago.
Yeah, absolutely. When you talk about Brett Kiesel, Aaron Smith, guys that played on a defensive line for so many years, and you got it right. Cameron Hayward and Tuitt have played very well the last 4 or 5 games.
That is Fred Jackson. Longtime Buffalo Bill picks up 3. That's Tuitt on the tackle.
The big thing for the Steelers defense, what do they want to do here today? Their number one key. We hear it every time we do a Seattle game, right? What is it? We got to keep Russell Wilson in the pocket. If we can do that, we got a chance, because they believe their defensive linemen inside can beat the center in both guards for Seattle.
Well, Mike Tomlin's 9th season as the Pittsburgh head coach. His defense, 3rd and 11, and on Wilson, and decking him back at the 47. That was Cameron Hayward, along with the likes of Shazier, and a loss of 8.
Well, Shazier is probably the fastest linebacker in the NFL on the outside. Coming inside, that's Lawrence Timmons. And they just collapse the pocket. They overwhelm the inside of the offensive line of Seattle. That's where they want to attack, and their first blitz worked well.
So they bring in John Ryan now. End over end. Not that far past the 20, but a good hop. And touchdown at the 14-yard line by Jeremy Lane. Never miss a moment of football action with the CBS Sports app. Every play and score, every game and every highlight right as they happen. Download the CBS Sports app now at cbssports.com/mobile. So what looked like a promising start for the Seattle offense. Rawls ripping off a couple of nice runs. Suddenly the Steelers defense stiffened, got the sack, and now a second series here for Roethlisberger and company. D'Angelo Williams wide to the right side with Sherman on him. They're going to pass it in the direction of Brown.
Well, you know, Jim, we had a chance to talk to Mike Tomlin, talk to some of their coaches. The one thing they are not underestimating the crowd noise here in Seattle. Not just the crowd noise, but how their team carries that momentum on the field. So the point being, Ben Roethlisberger, make a decision, get rid of the football, don't hold it too long, because that's where the sacks and the fumbles come from.
They haven't run it yet. 4 plays, 4 passes. Tomlin telling us they wanted to be very cautious, particularly at the very start of this game, but it's going to be a 5th straight drop back, and a little dump off pass to Williams will pick up about 4. Into the arms of KJ Wright.
They love it when you throw it short. The Seattle defense, they read the quarterback. You throw it short, they converge on it, just like we saw there. A lot of defenders around the ball carrier.
Like to welcome the audience who saw the Jets beat Miami today. Big game by Ryan Fitzpatrick, Jim Nantz, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson here in Seattle. 3rd and 6 for the Steelers. And that's their first down. 2nd possession of the game for Pittsburgh. After an opening 3 and out, and Steelers then punted away. Seattle picked up a couple of first downs, then had the punt. That's a 9-yard pass play to Miller.
Boy, KJ Wright gets the big hit. How about that back there in the secondary 3-man rush? Are looking at the quarterback, Michael Bennett. A little different look, trying to get all 8 defenders watching the quarterback. Good strong throw by Roethlisberger.
So we move inside 10 minutes for those of you just joining us. Steelers play action fake. And here's a little pass complete to Roosevelt Nix. These teams find themselves in similar positions. They're both way behind their division leaders. First on the AFC side, Pittsburgh coming into the week in the 5th slot, the first wild card. Cincinnati, their division leader, has already won today convincingly over St. Louis.
Good job.
Basically, the winner of this game today, Phil, will be in position of the top 6. The loser will be just on the outside. As Williams gets the carry on 2nd and 4, and a nice little patient move to pick up the first.
I like what they're doing so far. When you watch the Steelers offense, Roethlisberger getting rid of the football, and they're not making it too tough for the tackles. And the big one they're worried about, and you should be, Villanueva, the left tackle, a tight end in college. They converted him to a tackle out there playing, has some tough matchups today. But with the quarterback getting rid of the football quick, it's gotten him off to a good start, gives him confidence.
And that 1st and 10. Down the middle, and another throw back to Miller, who Roethlisberger's been going to now 4 targets so far in this game, and that's 3 catches. This one for 17.
Well, a lot of focus on the outside receivers, and this is going to open things up for Heath Miller. That's where people are hurting the Seattle defense. Down the seams. Everybody that plays them, it's plays just like that. Richard Sherman worried about Antonio Brown. Everybody else looking at Bryant. Heath Miller wide open down the middle.
Here's Antonio Brown settling in on that left side on a 1st down throw. And that's again a completion to one of the backs, Will Johnson. 6 completions so far for Roethlisberger in this game, none to a receiver so far. We saw the AFC standings. Here's the NFC side with Seattle coming in behind Green Bay, and a fast-falling Atlanta, which was defeated by Minnesota today. A Seattle win would put them, at least at the end of the week, into that top 6, into that wild card position. The 2nd and 5, and Williams again working it well up the middle, and he's got a 1st down near the 31.
Well, nice drive, shotgun offense. We've seen some throws underneath the center. Ben Roethlisberger's been dropping back. This time they run the football right up the middle, and that's the strength of this offensive line. I think Cody Wallace has done a good job at center. David DeCastro, the right guard. Foster at left guard. D'Angelo Williams. A good lane to run in.
4 first downs on this drive. Sticks are at the 31. Now they get it for the first time into the hands of Antonio Brown. Give him 2. Wednesday on CBS, a heartbreaking event will shake these doctors to their core. Don't miss a new Code Black Wednesday at 10, 9 Central, only CBS. You have been for the last couple of days. So eager to see Sherman and Brown face to face.
Hard to get them matched up together because the Steelers have come out in so many different formations. Hard to keep track of Antonio Brown. Right now, he's not in the game.
Yep, he's on the sidelines. Roethlisberger's hit his last 6 passes. He's going to hand it off to Williams. And he is shoved back by Bobby Wagner, along with Michael Bennett and others. Since the start of last season, Antonio Brown's numbers are staggering. 208 receptions, moving in on 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns. To think he had 284 against Oakland 2 games ago, 139 in the last game against Cleveland, and again 27 catches over the last 2 games. As he again moves around a little bit. He's got Sherman right up against him in the slot left. 3rd and 5. Down the field they go, and not turning around in time. Right in the area of Bryant and Brown. I don't know what that was, Phil.
Well, they tried to put him in the slot. He's in the way. What I was watching, here he goes up the sideline. Bryant, yeah, you got to get out of the way. And if Ben Roethlisberger could throw it up the field, that is going to be probably a touchdown. Or you could have called right there. You could have called pass interference against Sherman. Definitely made contact before the football got there.
Chris Boswell, their 4th place kicker of the year. It's hit 14 out of 15. This from 44. And he knocks it through. Steelers strike first. Speaking of strikes, back and forth they go. After Martavius Bryant ran the wrong route, watch Roethlisberger come over and talk to him on the sideline. Could have been called for a horse collar.
So it's really, well, you can see that everybody's talking to him. And here's what happens when you watch it. 2 guys in the same spot. It was supposed to be a clear out by Bryant and let Antonio Brown go down the sideline. It looks like he had position on Richard Sherman where he's going to run by him, like I said earlier, Jim, for a touchdown. Could have cost him 4 points. Now Ben Roethlisberger settling down like,
yep.
Okay, it's a long game. There's no doubt who the general is out there, and that's Ben Roethlisberger.
Trying to lead. Short kick. Gives Luckett the chance to race across the 30. Finished off by Brandon Boykin, 30-yard run back. Brett Kiesel's here. You're right.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency. Low fares, nothing to hide. Bose. Music deserves Bose. And by Ram Trucks. Guts. Glory. Ram.
An icon of Seattle, the Space Needle, built over a half-century ago. Here come the Seahawks now with their 2nd possession. And Rawls bouncing around on the right side before McClendon is able to finish him off. Gain of 2. Reminder, Thursday night we're on CBS and NFL Network. Green Bay and Detroit from Ford Field. And then in 2 weeks' time, Minnesota and Arizona on NFL Network only. Green Bay and Detroit, these teams going in opposite directions, with the Lions recently winning at Lambeau Field. And again, we'll be at Ford Field on Thursday night for that one. That's Rawls ducking under. And Rawls has the first down. He got away from Will Allen, who had come up to make the tackle, but give him 10.
It's a big play. Will Allen, number 20. Right here's the cutback. You get solid contact, but you can't get your arms around him. And that's, look, we've seen that from Rawls. Every time we've watched him play, Pete Carroll thrilled with what he's doing. And that's the heart of this football team, especially on offense, is power running. Rawls giving it to him.
Well, here he goes again. Quick cut. Give him 6. You know, last week he had 7 runs of at least 10 yards. He's already got 2 today. It totaled 209 on 30 rushes, plus a touchdown on the ground touchdown reception.
I'll say this, the fact that he is the man, and we talked to him yesterday, like any player in sports, the more they give him the ball, he says, I can feel the defense. And what he means, he can make the right cuts.
Wilson's pass, knocked down, incomplete, looking for Baldwin, but back to Rawls. That was the second best rushing performance in Seattle history behind a Sean Alexander one-game performance, and he topped Kurt Warner's rookie mark, most yards rushing in a game by a Seattle rookie.
Forget that. He is what, Jim? A free agent.
Yeah, nobody drafted him.
The running back position, I don't know how you judge it. It's so different from college football. You can get a star as a free agent at the running back position.
Seattle was on the phone with him right after the draft ended. Here's a 3rd and 4. With Timmons giving chase on Wilson. He has to throw it away. So good pressure by the Pittsburgh defense takes Seattle off the field.
Here's the difference between Pittsburgh's defense and many that play Seattle. 94 coming on the blitz. Here he is, but Russell Wilson great at escaping, getting out of the pocket, but there are many guys on that Steeler defense who can outrun Russell Wilson, and that's saying something.
Well, you said that fast defenses give him trouble.
They do. So when he escapes, fast defense gets there quick. He can't run, can't find the open receiver down the field.
Jacoby Jones lets it go over his head, and it's down at around the 7-yard line. Initially touched by Jeremy Lane. He batted it back. 40-yard punt, well done by John Ryan. Steelers will start inside the 10. Today's next-gen stats are presented by Esurance, auto and home insurance for the modern world. Mike Tomlin gathered his secondary together during that timeout.
He's giving them a mouthful, or I should say an earful. He is upset. Somebody made a mistake in that secondary, and they probably got away with it. And he is just trying to correct it on the sideline before Seattle takes advantage of it.
Roethlisberger throws from the goal line, and again it's back to Miller for the 4th time here in the opening quarter. Let's take a look at next-gen stats presented by Esurance. You got all that speed on the outside. It's interesting to look at it. The next-gen stats show it's the fastest wide receiver trio in the NFL, and the fastest of the 3, Martavis Bryant.
Well, that'll back a defense off, and that's one of the reasons why you see so many short passes by the Steelers. Defenses play deep. They're scared. They give you the short, easy throws.
You saw the top speed achieved by those 3 at some point during the season, as Roethlisberger tried almost a little jump pass in the direction of Antonio Brown, but Bobby Wagner was there.
And one thing, I saw how fast that pocket was collapsing. And Richard Sherman, good little shot. Oh, he gets caught. But the big thing is Bobby Wagner, the free defender in the middle of the field, helped Richard Sherman out that time.
Yeah, it looked like Wagner had a hold of Brown for just a moment. 3rd and 2. Flags are down as Roethlisberger goes deep. Incomplete. Sherman and Thomas. What a tandem. They both were back there defending.
Well, we're seeing this in the league a lot. Quarterback so trained. Defense jumps off sides, go
Ruling
deep.
on the field is an incomplete pass. Offside, number 72, defense. 5-yard penalty, 1st down.
So Michael Bennett jumping early and gets Pittsburgh a new set of downs.
Boy, beautiful throw, Michael Bennett. Of course, you're not going on the quarterback sound. You're just trying to time it up. Because there's no way Ben Roethlisberger can yell above this crowd.
They send D'Angelo Williams to the top of your screen. Empty out the backfield for Ben. And there is D'Angelo. Bouncing off a big hit and going for 8. It was Earl Thomas who lowered the helmet, and Williams bounced off of the hit.
Earl Thomas, 29. Look how fast he comes in there. And he's just not going for the big hit. He had his arms out, but he can't make the tackle.
2nd and 2. Open. Nice move there by Brown as he spun around and was able to get the space he needed off Richard Sherman for 16.
That tells you everything about Antonio Brown. Watch this, full speed, never slows down, turns, reach backs, catches the football, and then goes forward. Ben Roethlisberger has done this many times against Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman, so tall, long arms, hard to throw it over the top of him against a small receiver. That was a great adjustment by Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown.
And that matchup at the top. 1st and 10. And there's Wheaton with the grab at the 35. Right in front of Earl Thomas for 21.
This is like watching the Arizona Cardinals play this defense. They are just attacking them right now with formations, types of different throws. And that time the linebackers did not get deep enough.
And the Cardinals of Bruce Arians, former offensive coordinator of Pittsburgh, put up 39 on them here a couple of weeks ago.
Of course, Scott Haley, been here many times as a coach of the Arizona Cardinals.
Here's the wide receiver screen to Bryant. And give him 4. Tuesday on CBS, everyone's favorite red-nosed reindeer in high definition. Get the family together for the special presentation, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Tuesday, 8, 7 Central, only CBS.
Well, let me say this. Pittsburgh wanted to come out, be a little conservative, make sure things didn't get out of control early. Well, they got over that feeling quick, didn't they? They are attacking this Seattle defense.
2nd and 6. Last minute of the first quarter. And that's over the head of Antonio Brown. Sherman was right with him.
Yeah, really good shot that time of the matchup. You just see the height and everything of Richard Sherman, and there's just so little room where to throw the football. And look how fast Richard Sherman reads the receiver's eyes, turns and looks for the football.
Sherman's up on Brown right at the line of scrimmage. They're on the near side. 3rd and 6. Back to Miller. Chancellor prevents the first. What a tackle by Cam Chancellor.
Cam Chancellor has really been outstanding here in the last couple of weeks.
Look, the Steelers rush to the line here.
I was going to say this is an automatic field goal, but Mike Tomlin, 2-point conversions, 4th down tries, not afraid to do it.
He's got a play he likes. That's why he does something like this. And maybe just trying to draw him off sides. We're at the end of the quarter. End of the quarter. Took a while for everyone on the field to realize it. It had been over for a few seconds. Steelers with a field goal in the opening 15. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by McDonald's, teaming up with the NFL like never before. And by Bud Light. Make the right call. Drink responsibly.
Recently, a few Steelers rookies took time out during the week to visit the UPMC Children's Hospital in Pittsburgh. Saw Bud Dupree and others. And Mike Tomlin, to start the quarters, decided to bring out Boswell for the field goal. This is going to be 45. Oh, hold on a minute here. Landry Jones is in there. He's the deep man.
Defense, though, they reacted well. Going to punt it? No, they're going to go for it.
Here is Landry Jones, the backup quarterback, coming back to the other side. And he's intercepted by Lane. And Jeremy Lane takes off inside the 40, stumbles down at the 25. He was about to try to make a cut on Jones. That pass was thrown in direction of the left tackle, Villanueva, and Jeremy Lane was never fooled.
Terrible decision by the quarterback, but look at the Seattle defense. They were ready, not caught out of position. So Landry Jones is going to split that way. They're going to try to sneak out. He comes across the field. Boy, just didn't see Lane, who back for his first game. Good discipline, stayed in the right spot. Got too excited and finally fell down.
Probably was going to take it all the way.
Yeah, you're talking about being an aggressive coach. We talked to Mike Tomlin last night. All the two-point conversions, everything they try and do, and he's coming to this game with the mindset of being aggressive. But that was just a terrible decision by the thrower.
And are they happy to have Lane back? Just returning to the roster here the last couple of days, injured in the Super Bowl. That pass incomplete, tipped at the line.
That was a blitz that time. I think we see what's good. Boy, look how high Russell Wilson releases the football that time to get it over the top.
It's like McClendon may have gotten a hand on it.
Yep, he did.
Second down from the Pittsburgh 24, trying to take advantage of the takeaway. Hurtling up ahead to the 19 is Rawls.
Russell Wilson had the defense in a bind that time. He didn't know what to do, honestly. He could have kept the football or handed off. And this is one thing they got to be a little leery of. Look at 95. That's Jarvis Jones. He's in no man's land. He makes the tackle, but it's for a 4-yard gain.
3rd and 6. Wilson's missed on his last 4 attempts. Got it this time. And that's Lockett. That speed, that quickness showing through right there for a gain of 11.
Coming all the way underneath, and what they do, they really set a pick. Baldwin got in the way of Russ Cockrell, and Cockrell could not fight his way through it. That's why Tyler Lockett wide open.
Gives him 1st and goal to go at the 9.
Not a pick, a moving block. I guess that's the best way to say it.
Here's Rawls. Tried to hide for a moment, and then Timmons fell on him. Going behind Gary Gilliam for 6.
When you watch Rawls run, there's a little bit of the twitch. You see it side to side, Jim, but it's always going forward, so you get both. You know, he's just not a power runner. When he sees the opportunity, he will make a little move and slide around defenders and get those extra yards. It's amazing to see the running back now compared to what we saw week 3 against Chicago. What improvement as a runner.
On 2nd and goal, it's Rawls. He got hit and still fought for an extra yard. Got hit by Hayward, and flags are thrown into the pile.
Jarvis Jones made a big hit.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 64, offense. Diving on the pile, that's a 15-yard penalty. It'll be 3rd down.
Well, 64 is J.R. Sweezy, the right guard. There's Cameron Hayward, Jarvis Jones. Then watch how late. There it comes over the top, and listen, that's a good call.
Pete Carroll didn't think so.
Nah, in disgust. I think when you do that, you're more disgusted at your player than the call. You could, even where we are, I could see the late jump on the pile. That's a mistake.
It's been one of the issues for Seattle this season, breaking down in the red zone. They're 31st in the league in touchdown conversion in the red zone. Here's a 3rd and goal. Well, they got it this time. It's Baldwin on the receiving end of the Russell Wilson pass.
It's their number 1 play inside the 30 when they're looking to score. You've got to know that as a defense. They're going to send a guy up the seam. Here's the inside guy. Watch him go up. Watch the defense separate. Nobody even close to Tyler Lockett. I'm sorry, that was Doug Baldwin on the catch.
Whose responsibility?
Well, really, it's the corner, believe it or not, way outside. Somebody's got to put a hand on him The corner's got to read the inside receiver, leave his guy, and then take Doug Baldwin.
Hauschka, who missed 2 extra points last week, nails this one. Short touchdown drive as they came up with the pick off the Pittsburgh trickery, the interception, eventually ending with a Baldwin touchdown grab. Doug Baldwin with his 4th touchdown of the season, set up by Jeremy Lane. Or are they happy to have him back after that injury?
Yep.
Vicious injury, ACL and other issues from the Super Bowl. Wasn't even able to really be ready by the start of the season. They got him practicing during the bye, and he's back on the roster already making plays.
Him and Deshaun Shedd already played big, or have played big so far in this game. The new corner.
That is Jacoby Jones from the goal line. And the former Raven star has his best return as a Steeler out to the 36 for a 36-yard run back. And there was a flag thrown, I believe, at the back end of this, because I thought it might have been a horse collar. Cam Chancellor was reaching in there. And there is a flag. There is a flag.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, horse collar tackle, number 31, defense of the kicking team. 15-yard penalty, be first down, timeout.
There it is. This will put the Steelers actually on the Seahawks side of the field at the 49. Phil, that fake field goal, one thing about it came at the quarter change, and is not going to fool a lot of people when you have a chance during a timeout to see the personnel group that runs onto the field, unlike the normal flow of a game.
Well, look what they did. They got the shift, they got the motion, the quarterback rolling one way, but the defense, I think you're right. They saw the personnel, they were ready for it, nobody fooled.
Here's a handoff to D'Angelo Williams. See, normally the holder is the punter, Jordan Berry, but when you see number 3 out there instead of number 4 running onto the field, you know something's up. Now, Roethlisberger in that first quarter, 19 attempts. That's the second most Ben has ever had in an opening quarter in his career. Only topped by the 20 throws he had against New England in a game back in 2011 in the first quarter. 2nd and 6. Nice grab there by Bryant, who stretches out for the first, and they're going to mark him short of it. Well, maybe right on it. We'll see.
Well, Bryant, tight formation. You really don't expect an outcut like that to the sideline when they have that bunch. So really nice rhythm throw by Ben Roethlisberger.
They're going to bring out the sticks.
Anytime you're opposite of Richard Sherman, you can expect some footballs coming your way.
And they say inches short.
Well, the way the Steelers are playing this game so far, if I was on defense, I would not fall asleep. When I say that, I mean he might fake it, go deep, knowing if they don't get it, they can try to run it on 4th down.
Saw him have a last-second word with D'Angelo Williams. He was lined up right behind Roethlisberger, who will sneak it for the first. Jim Nance, Phil Simms, and Tracy Wolfson on hand here. Tracy,
well,
welcome.
Jim, playing at CenturyLink is a new experience for these Steelers. Only 5 of these players have ever played here before, and that doesn't include Ben Roethlisberger. He told us he didn't prepare any differently, but he knows that the noise is a big deal. As for Mike Tomlin, he told us that he needed to start off smart and safer than normal. Well, guys, that fake field goal, the interception, certainly not safe, and certainly got the crowd into this one now, Jim.
Well, the Steelers have a new set of downs here, and they're going long. Going long and incomplete. for Martavis Bryant. Shed was with him. Shed's pumped up about the way he defended that play.
Well, he's pumped up. Martavis Bryant, you got to be careful. At first I would say never. Shed never finds the football, does turn, but also Bryant had his hand out, pushing off on Shed.
Again, Shed getting the start over Kerry Williams. Second down, pressure, unloading to Miller. And with a flag out, that's an 8-yard hookup. And if it stands, it'll be Miller's 6th catch.
Offside, number 51, defense. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
So they'll take the 5 yards, make it 2nd and 5 instead of a 3rd and 2.
Yeah, Bruce Irvin on the outside. We thought he might not even be dressed today to play, but what a jump he had. Richard Sherman once again right up on the line of scrimmage against Antonio Brown, not giving him any space. He can't believe it when he watches the Steelers play that everybody backs off and gives him all that room underneath.
2nd and 5. What a pass. Complete to the 14 to Wheaton. Roethlisberger with some heat threads that one for 19.
It's a really terrific throw. He sees the coverage on the outside coming in, so he pulls Wheaton up, makes him turn around, make the catch, and be able to protect himself at the same time.
The give to Williams. Moves laterally and then darts ahead to the 10. Tonight he was held by Cuba in prison for years, and he tells his story for the first time on 60 Minutes. Plus the Daredevils, who are taking on one of the most dangerous mountains in the world. That is tonight only. CBS. 2nd and 6. Brown and Sherman meet at the top. Bryant at the bottom. And look at this, end around. That's Bryant breaking a tackle and somehow finding enough room to negotiate the sideline and a touchdown.
The speed is what made it happen. The defense, they are sitting back in a zone. They got guys in spots to make the tackle. And how about that? Bryant just so fast and so quick gets around Earl Thomas, who of course wasn't even blocked by anybody. Looks like he does get in too. Good hustle by Cam Chancellor. Inbounds. Foots in. Is the football across that pylon? That's very close. So close, I think they're going to rule it a touchdown.
Well, you never would imagine just watching it
that he was going to get there.
He was going to have enough of real estate there to be able to somehow tiptoe down the sideline, but he kicked it into another gear. Touchdown confirmed.
Well, when I saw it, I said this is not going to work because the defense, but speed can even beat a good defense.
Out of the Barry hold to Boswell. Extra point is good. Taya Cassius Marsh had the play. This would have been a loss. Then they got around Thomas and even Chancellor for the touchdown. Heath Miller's had a busy first half with 5 catches, but he was taken to the locker room. And he was hustling to the locker room during that timeout. Martavis Bryant, second-year man from Clemson. He had never rushed for a touchdown in his first season and a half in the league, and never even had one in Clemson. Rush touchdown, that is. Lockett. He is smashed rather quickly by Jarvis Jones. Only a 17-yard run back. Terrence Garvin also into that return. 10-7 Pittsburgh.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon. Watch live primetime games with NFL Mobile only on Verizon. Walmart. Walmart has everything you need to share wonder every day. And by Honda. Hurry in for great deals during Happy Honda Days.
Back in Seattle, the 15th largest metropolitan area in the country, and look who's going in. A little wobbly at that, Ryan Shazier.
Yeah. Big deal. Fastest linebacker maybe in the NFL. They wanted him today to help chase down Russell Wilson. So he's going to go inside most likely and have to go through concussion protocol to see if he can come back in this game.
There's the give. And that is James Harrison in on the tackle along with Vince Williams, who has come in for Shazier. How about a little next-gen look at the max speed?
Well, the big one is at good speed. It's turning the corner what's impressive, but we saw it. Earl Thomas missing the tackle, and at the corner, why he was able to score, Marcus Wheaton getting an excellent block on Deshaun Shedd.
Got it up to about 19 miles an hour.
Going around the curve, that's pretty good. Even I know that.
That's Rawls coming over to the near side on the 2nd and 9. Wilson forced to come out of the pocket, and that'll go as a sack. William Gay was in the area.
Really good job by the Steeler defense, and that's what they want to do. Make Russell Wilson stand in the pocket and make the throw. So everybody's looking at him. Look at Hayward. Cameron Hayward so fast. William Gay makes the tackle. But what athletic ability by 97 there, huh, Jim? You could see all the time he was watching Russell Wilson to make sure he doesn't get that extra time to throw it down the field. Good design by Keith Butler, the defensive coordinator.
Keith Butler's defense 28th in the league against the pass. Passing play here on 3rd and 10. And Jimmy Graham with the stiff arm on Cockrell. He's got the first down. He's got 17.
Well, they want good job by Russell Wilson standing in the pocket. James Harrison hit Jimmy Graham, but Russ Cockrell just gave him too much space. I mean, he started out 3 or 4 yards behind him, and Jimmy Graham is as fast as a wide receiver. You're not going to make that room up.
Look what he does, though. Cockrell does with the stiff arm.
Wow.
He just takes the hand and the arm and says, "You can stiff arm me. I'm just going to pull you right down off the limb." First down throw. Did it hit the ground? They rule it a catch. A catch by Curse. Seattle hurries to the line, trying to beat the replay.
I wouldn't. Well,
flag is out. Red flag, that is, from the Pittsburgh sideline.
That quick look, I would say I wouldn't challenge it because it was.
Looked like it'd be hard to overturn it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it happened so fast. There's no look to even us. We looked at it real quick. You couldn't see clearly that it was one way or the other, and I wouldn't have wasted the challenge.
Pittsburgh is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass.
Play went for 7 yards. We're back. Will the catch by
After
Curse
during
hold
the
up?
play, the pass is incomplete. It's 2nd and 10 on the 32-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 6:32.
Here's the shot. You can tell.
Pittsburgh will not be charged with a timeout.
His arms definitely were not underneath it. He didn't have possession. And whoever's giving Mike Tomlin information up top, he's got some set of eyes. They were good. And quick.
It didn't have a whole lot of time to pull that trigger, but they get it right, and it's a 2nd and 10 instead of 2nd and 3 with 6.5 to go in the first half. Quick toss to Baldwin. Cockrell is there, as well as Timmons. Let's go down to Tracy.
Well, thanks a lot. As you suspected, Ryan Shazier was taken into the locker room and is going through the NFL concussion protocol. As for Heath Miller, he's in the locker room. It is a rib injury. His return, though, is probable, Jim.
Oh, okay.
Once again, we saw the speed of his Steelers defense to throw outside and how fast they got there. everybody, when they have success throwing against the Steelers defense, they throw it to the outside where the coverage is usually off. So far, Seattle not testing those sidelines with deep throws.
Boy, they barely beat the play clock. 3rd and 10 and open for another first down grab. Jimmy Graham. I'll tell you, Pete Carroll thought they weren't going to get the snap away in time. He was trying to get a timeout from the sideline.
Right down the middle. Nobody over the top of Jimmy Graham, and Russell Wilson can deliver the football quick and with power, and just not enough time for the defense to get there.
That's twice now that Graham has had 18-yard receptions on 3rd down. Go to him again. Juggled it for a moment. He's got 3. Look at Jimmy Graham. His targets among tight ends tied for the 6th most. Again, these are by his standards, at least what he did down in New Orleans. These are not the same kind of numbers we're used to, but they're not asking him to do the same.
Well, they're
thing.
not going to be the same. A whole entirely different team, the way they go about it. But I'll say this: they're finding ways to get him the football now. He truly is a big part of this offense, and also he's blocking a lot better than he did earlier in the year.
Well, they weren't able to block on this occasion. James Harrison, who had that burst of yesteryear right there, crossed the line in a hurry and knocks back Rawls for a loss of 4.
92, you're right. He is a tremendous, even at his age, the one thing he has not lost is those arms. And those arms can take tackles and hold them up, and he was in great position to stop the run.
Harrison, one of 4 Steelers still on the roster on the Pittsburgh team that defeated Seattle back in Super Bowl 40, along with Heath Miller, Big Ben, and Greg Warren, the long snapper. They got a whistle. And it's a pre-snap penalty on Seattle, the 4th one of this game against the Seahawks. By the way, no Seahawks remain from the Seattle NFC Championship team that, again, faced Pittsburgh in Detroit 10 years back.
Well, that time Russell Wilson with the hard count wanted to get a look at the defense. He got the look, but the problem is the hard count and the blitz, the charging of the defense towards the offensive line made him move.
3rd and 16. They've gone to Graham twice in these situations on this drive. Not this time. Instead, it's another reception by Curse. Actually, the first one by Curse was taken away. This one's going to hold up, and it's a big one for the first down.
Really good job. Nice decision by Russell Wilson to throw the football inside. The release outside, not much room. He jumps in a perfect throw. And of course, Pete Carroll, he lacks emotion, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He just not quite. Well, of course, I'm kidding. Sarcastic. He's always into it. An emotional leader himself of this team.
The team feeds off of it, too. Here's Wilson with the pass play to Kevin Smith. How about Smith being left alone?
Here comes the running back. He looks like down the field, and this is what happens. This time, Blake is going to fall inside Jim to get the second receiver, which we saw earlier. They gave up a touchdown. See how quick he sees the inside receiver go up the field? That's why he moves, and Russell Wilson was ready with a laser throw.
Smith's first catch of the season, just put on the roster out of the University of Washington. And it's another touchdown. Another touchdown pass by Wilson. This one to Curse. The Seahawks complete the long drive.
Let me tell you something. Russell Wilson had his best game of the year last year for many respects, but he is picking up where he left off. That was another great throw because it's on target with power and to the right person.
It completes an 85-yard, 11-play drive in 6.5 minutes. And how about Wilson? He completes 3 third-down passes. They were all 3rd and long. 2 of them to Graham, 1 to Curse, And then he goes back, circles back, and finds Curse for the touchdown.
I'll say this, too much extra point. The Steelers wanted to keep him in the pocket. Maybe they better chase him out, because in the pocket, he is deadly so far today.
Seahawks regain the lead at 14-10.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And by Amazon Fire TV. Change the way you TV.
Russell Wilson just threw for 76 yards on that 85-yard drive. He's hit 9 of his last 10, including a pair of touchdowns. But again, the key to that drive, hitting Graham on 3rd and 10 for 18. Graham again on 3rd and 10 for 18. And then he had the long pass to Curse for 22 on a 3rd and 16. No run back this time for Jacoby Jones. This is Wilson coming off the field.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff. The pass protection, the blitzing by the Steelers, different looks, trying to confuse Seattle's offense. It did early, but boy, that last drive was impressive. And they did what most teams are doing to the Steelers. Down the field, but throwing the football towards the sideline. I think that's where they struggle and where the defense is weak.
We heard from Tracy about Heath Miller being checked with a rib injury. He's back on the field. And that's incomplete. Going for Brown. Sherman all over him.
Good change up by Richard Sherman that time. He doesn't always stand up there face to face. He bails. Look at him watching the quarterback, able to stop, but it's those long arms that allows him to reach around receivers and knock the football down.
.206 to go in the second quarter. Good time. Pass is there, and Bryant fights with Shed, trying to pick up the first. It's close. We have the 2-minute warning in Seattle. Antonio Brown had 2 catches in the first quarter. One went for 2 yards, and this one went for an incompletion. He did have a 15-yard catch. This was it right here. 2 for 17, Phil.
Yeah, so far Richard Sherman, just his height, his long arms, being aggressive at the line of scrimmage, he's winning the battle against Antonio Brown.
3rd and less than a yard. And that's been for the second time sneaking for the first down in this matchup between quarterbacks, each of whom won a Super Bowl their second year in the league. And we're seeing, well, Russell Wilson's already showing a lot here in the first half with the 2 touchdown passes.
Well, he has. Ben Roethlisberger's been pretty sharp himself. You know, this crowd, that defense, and he's finding different ways to do it. Antonio Brown's not getting open, so he's finding other receivers with better matchups.
Roethlisberger able to get free and zing it downfield. Somehow Bryant wasn't able to catch that one. Right in his hands.
Just a beautiful job. We all talk about Russell Wilson and his receivers making adjustments, but when you watch the Steelers, Roethlisberger moves. These receivers are tremendous at changing the routes. That was a big play miss by Bryant.
Steelers have all the timeouts. Jesse James is in at tight end. Miller is out. Here's a second down play on the run. In traffic, it's Wheaton with the grab. And a timeout called by Pittsburgh. .116 remaining in the first half. New set of downs for the Steelers. Roethlisberger, who has not been sacked so far, again buys time. He's got Wheaton open, and he's got the catch at the 15.
Couple things. Ben Roethlisberger moves up in the pocket and looks behind to make sure he's not going to get hit and fumble. And watch 56, Cliff Averill stops and goes, oh, there he is. But the offensive line overall is the story of the first half for the Steelers. Well, what a job by Roethlisberger looking down the field. He saw Wheaton throw his hands up. That drew his attention. Made sure he had time to make the throw and did it.
Pick up a 41 to Wheaton. Coming up the Verizon halftime report. JB and Tony. Barton Boomer checking his fantasy scores. Coach Cowher, all the latest NFL action and highlights coming up on the Verizon halftime report. Marcus Wheaton now with 94 yards off 4 catches, while Bryant and Brown have 35 yards combined.
The offensive line, Seattle thought they could overpower it. That was going to be their big advantage. That has not come through so far.
After a second Steeler timeout from the 15. A wobbler, but it's there for Wheaton again. Puts him over 100 and a gain of 9.
Well, you listen, when your number one receiver is guarded by their best player, if that matchup is not the best one you have, then don't force the football to him. And the Steelers are not doing that. They love these other matchups. Wheaton against Burley. Wheaton is fast, quick, and we saw it on that cut.
2nd and 1 from the 6. Williams straight ahead to the end zone for the touchdown.
What a drive. They got the defense, the speed. And how about Cody Wallace, the center? Fires out.
And how about D'Angelo Williams, his 6th rushing touchdown of the season. By the way, the offense still out there, as Mike Tomlin will often do. He's going for the 2.
Right away, they practice this all the time against each other to get everybody fired up before the game. Before practice. No hesitation. I would kick the extra point to go up 3. But he says percentages tell him to go for the 2.
Roethlisberger's pass, it's there for the 2 to Jesse James.
Yeah, that'll fire up the coach too, because he knows when you make decisions like that you can be second guessed. But he says when we do it in practice against our defense, and they do it a lot, he goes, we look at the numbers, and the numbers say we are going to get it more than we don't get it. Boy, Ben Roethlisberger fired up after that drive.
Well, he says when Ben's in there at quarterback, and of course Ben's had these issues. Somehow he has not been lost for the season with a knee and the foot injury. But when Ben's been in there and we go for 2, we're hitting on over 50%. Tomlin loves the strategy. He loves what it does in the practice to get the team going.
Get them going, get them into the practice, and also what it's done, it's really helped Ben Roethlisberger get rid of the football faster, even in the open field, as you see the numbers from the drive.
How about 1 minute and 14 seconds? The big play, the 41-yard throw to Wheaton, but 1 minute and 14 to cover the 80 yards.
Well, he talked about, we could even hear the concern in Tomlin's voice last night about their offensive line. We're going to be slow on how we get into the football game, but just can't say enough about what they're doing up front. And the play calling by Todd Haley, well, it's kept the Seattle defense off guard all day.
This quarter, we've had 29 total points scored and 4 lead changes. Been a great first half of action here. We'll have the Verizon halftime report again coming up shortly. James Brown and the team back in New York, getting all set to bring you all the highlights.
You know, Jim, you and I talked about it just for a second. So many teams in the league have copied the Seattle Seahawks defense. We got Gus Bradley, of course. You know, he's down in Jacksonville. Dan Quinn in Atlanta. So everybody's got all these plays, and they know the game plan is more distinct what to do against the Seattle defense. And the Steelers, one of those teams that can take advantage of it.
Seahawks with all the timeouts. Get it to Freddie Jackson. He pushes away Cockrell and then gets out of bounds to stop the clock at 50. Heath Miller, who returned to action, and then on that series, he was in for the start of that last series and then was taken out for Jesse James. He's heading back to the locker room early. From behind, they come after Wilson, and he throws it incomplete. That was Jarvis Jones.
Jarvis Jones was tremendous last week. Number 95, top of the screen.
Got a flag right in the area where Wilson
Intentional
released it.
grounding, number 3, offense. Quarterback was out of the pocket, but the football did not get past the line of scrimmage. The loss of down, 3rd down.
That's a good call. Nobody in the area. Here's the line of scrimmage, just looking down there. They force him outside. Well, look at how they're waiting. The football does not get there.
He has a yard short.
It's not only that, there really is nobody in the area is the reason why. And now the Steelers,
Yeah, they could actually still do something themselves.
well, that's right. They're going to, of course, you wait to see what happens on this play. If the clock is moving, they don't get the first down, I'm sure they'll use their timeout. At that time, the coverage was good down the field. The Steelers staying with their plan to make sure Russell Wilson, when he escapes, they're chasing him down.
Not sure why they're taking so long here. The flag is just now picked up.
Has elected not to use a timeout to avoid the 10-second runoff. Please reset the game clock to 35 seconds, and the game clock will start on my signal.
So Wilson had time to go over and talk to Coach Carroll for a moment. Seven penalties on the Seahawks. None in the first half on the Steelers. Baldwin breaks the tackle out of bounds. Not exactly what Seattle wanted to see him do.
Nope, not exactly. Saves that timeout for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, it was one of those rules that actually was supposed to go against the offense, but it ended up helping them with the 10-second runoff.
So now with 16 seconds, Ryan to punt it to Jacoby Jones. Spiraling kick, but not a lot of hang time. Jones with a wiggle, breaking a tackle to the 40, but the flag is down back at the 30. After a 58-yard punt, 22-yard return. It's going to be a hold against the Steelers.
During the return, holding, number 41, receiving team. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
Pete Carroll takes the headset off. He expects nothing more than a little kneel down here by the opposition after what's been a fast second quarter of lead changes, 4 in all.
Well, it used to be you come out here, this crowd knows this defense. You think, boy, if we can get a chance to get 20 points, we could win the game. But it's changed this year.
Yeah, the noise is still there.
The noise is still there, but the offenses in the NFL, they're putting this Seattle defense to the test, especially teams like Arizona, Pittsburgh, teams that can throw it down the field.
Tracy, down to you.
Thanks a lot, Coach. Your offense has been able to move the ball. We can see how excited you got when you punched it in down there. How have you been able to keep this defense so off balance?
You know, Ben's making good and quick decisions and finding his eligibles and finding them quickly, and I think that's the key. When you have the type of four-man rush that they have, we got to make those type of quick decisions, get the ball out.
You tell us you like to be aggressive. You went for the fake field goal, turned into 7 points. What was your thought there?
You know, I'm just going to be aggressive. We're going to take the calculated risks associated with victory. They're a good team. We're in their venue. We're not going to live in our fears. We're going to live in our hopes.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Roethlisberger throws for over 200 in that first half. Williams runs for a score. Martavis Bryant with a rush touchdown, and the Steelers lead it at 18-14. Back with the Verizon halftime report after this message and a word from your local station. Roethlisberger's first experience at Seattle, throws for 208 yards in that first half. Now it's time for Who Are You Lovin'? Presented by McDonald's Game Time Gold. You see Bryant and Brown celebrating the end-around touchdown by Martavis. 248 total yards by Pittsburgh in that first half. Turned it over once. That was on the fake field goal, the pass interception. Only one penalty. No sacks, though, allowed by the Steelers. What are you looking for here in the second half? Ball's going to be kicked here to Seattle to start.
Well, you know, a couple things. First off, Ben Roethlisberger sleepless in Seattle. He is not. So, movie reference. But I think the story is the offensive line for the Pittsburgh Steelers, what they've done, and the fact that the Steelers have so many good wide receivers. Who's their weapon today? Marcus Wheaton. They're going to him. He's making it happen. That just shows you how deep this offense is for the Steelers and how explosive they are.
Yeah, Wheaton had 5 catches, 103 yards, including the 41-yarder in the last 2 minutes to set up the Steelers. And look at Lockett. Lockett with Boswell, the kicker, finally able to shut off the angle. But Tyler Lockett, in almost every game this year, makes his presence felt. 54-yard return.
Well, when you look at the Steelers' offense, in the return team, we've seen the returns. We've seen them since preseason. We've watched him on offense, and you think of Tyler Lockett. And then, of course, you know, Jim, you look at the running back situation, and you got Thomas Rawls. How about those two, what they've done for the Seattle football team and the offense?
Just the 4th rookie since 1970 to have a kick return for a touchdown, a punt return, and a touchdown reception. He's got 3 touchdown receptions. This Rawls, the other rookie, making his name known around these parts, gets 6. Tracy, down to you.
I spoke out of the locker room and I asked him, how will you get more pressure on Ben Roethlisberger? He said, that's exactly what we've been talking about all of half. He said, we're making adjustments. You'll see them out on the field. And then he said, offensively, he wants to run the ball more, but he said, we have to get them off the field in order to do that, Jim.
All right, Rawls had 51 in the first half as he moves deep behind Wilson and gets the carry again and collides right away with Moats, Arthur Moats. Sean Spence, by the way, is in the lineup for Shazier. Again, taken out in the first half, Shazier for the concussion protocol.
Well, they're so deep at linebacker. You said Sean Spence is in there. Vince Williams, another linebacker, kind of looks like Lawrence Timmons. Just such big guys who can run. So they have great depth at linebacker, so they can maybe they can overcome the fact that Shazier is out.
And moving Dupree into the starting lineup today gave them 4 first-rounders as a starting linebacking core.
They can pick them even in the first round. They don't miss.
3rd and 4. And Jackson is knocked back for, well, we'll give him no gain.
Just good job. Russell Wilson sensed that he couldn't get out of the pocket, was looking down the field, and there was nowhere to go with the football. And then one thing that really jumps out today, when the football or the run goes outside, the speed of the Steelers defense getting to the ball carrier. That's the difference in what's helped them have this lead here in the start of the second half.
As Ryan, his fourth punt of the game, earns the fair catch. So the Seahawks unable to come up with anything off that 54-yard kick return. NFL Play 60, the NFL's movement for a more active generation, encouraging fans to get moving and play for 60 minutes every day. Run, jump, and race to Super Bowl 50, as you saw Doug Baldwin of the Seahawks recently visiting an elementary school in Auburn, Washington, to speak to students about Play 60.
Well, you know, one thing that Tracy Wolfson said, pressure on Ben Roethlisberger, that's what they want. How many times can you rush the passer? 28 throws in the first half. Defensive linemen, as much as they want to hit the quarterback, they do get tired.
Here he's sacked for the first time by Michael Bennett. And also at the bottom of the pile, got another Seahawk that was on him.
Well, he was looking to throw the football very quick, and when it doesn't come out on time, that's what's going to happen. The offensive line thought it was going to be a catch and throw. It was not. The coverage was there, and they got the sack.
Yeah, let's give the sack to Averill, giving him 7.5 on the season. They're without Heath Miller. Setting up a screen to D'Angelo Williams, who slices across the field and gets to the 30. Got a nice block, too, out there.
Yeah, it was Ramon Foster who did it, Jim. The left guard, 73. Keep an eye on him. He releases down the field, the cutback, and he gets the block. And good set of eyes on D'Angelo Williams.
Now, that previous play on the sack, the left foot of Roethlisberger was stepped on. Actually, that was, I believe that was Villanueva, his own player.
Well, Villanueva got up limping too.
Now we've got an injured Seahawk. It's Jordan Hill.
Well,
about the play by Villanueva.
Can't say enough. You know, really was interested to watch him play here today, and he has played great. That's against Clark. Then it gets Irvin, gives Roethlisberger time to throw it down the field. Cassius Marsh. I mean, it's, look, he was a tight end at Army, practice squad, comes out here in this situation and playing the way he did that first half was absolutely outstanding. They really haven't had to help him out. You know, he's on his own most of the time over there. No chipping, no help by the running back.
After a 17-yard play to Williams, you set it downs and the throw to Antonio. He's got 5. You know, Villanueva, you just saw it. He is ranking up there with the tallest players ever in the history of the NFL. Morris Stroud, remember, he used to try to block field goals right below the goalpost.
I got to want to know who measured Too Tall Jones. I played against him a lot. He looked like he was 7 foot to me.
I thought he was 6'9", but that was unofficial.
Let's put it this way. I used to throw passes to the opposite side of the field away from him. That's how many passes he knocked down.
2nd and 5, and right away, that time Villanueva got beat. What a play by Frank Clark, rookie from Michigan.
Yep, timed it perfect, gets around the edge. And it just, what happened is he lined up so wide that Villanueva could not get out there quick enough.
I think they made some adjustments at halftime.
Well, adjustments and a tongue lashing will get you motivated.
Third and 13. And who else but Wheaton, Roethlisberger's favorite target today.
Unbelievable. Good blocking on the outside. I think it was Jesse James, number 81, the tight end, stays on Clark, and then extra time, stepping up in the pocket. Boy, when Ben Roethlisberger wants to drive the football, he can do it with accuracy and, of course, a lot of speed.
So you saw it, Wheaton had been almost invisible the previous 5 games with 45 total yards receiving. Brown. Sherman pushes him out. NFL fans, order your holiday gifts from NFLshop.com today. Save up to 20%. NFLshop.com. 7 yards to Antonio Brown, now with 4 catches for 29. Second and 3. Looking for Bryant. He's open, and he comes down with it at the 10-yard line. Well, that's a play they tried right at the start of the game in the first series of the game.
They try it many times a game, and Bryant gets on top, keeps his body, and look how he jumped to catch the ball. And look, last week they hit these big plays, or 2 weeks ago against Cleveland. They also draw a lot of pass interferences too, Jim. They are going to take shots deep down the field.
It goes for 40. And Williams goes underneath, ducks down, and is able to pick up 3. You talked earlier how Seattle teams have adjusted against this defense.
No question. 3 years, they've had great success. They've had 2 coordinators leave. Everybody during the offseason studies what to do against this defense. There's Chris Richard, the defensive coordinator, and they've been beating them outside against the zones, throwing over the middle, which we've seen a lot of here today. You know, these throwers and catchers and the coaches in the NFL are pretty good.
Second and 7. They can get it first at the 1, but they're going to give back a couple at least. Bruce Irvin was the first to make contact with him.
You know, there's just so many things. You know, we saw the Buddy Ryan defense caught everybody by surprise, dominated for years. But then the league is just incredible. The studying, everybody starts copying the plays that work. It's just one of the reasons why Seattle has given up some big points this year against good passing teams.
So 3rd and 9, just outside the 10. Brown at the top, Sherman on him, as has been the case most of the day. Stepping up, he's going to take off with it. Roethlisberger, ball is starting to come out, and he fell on it a yard short of the first. Now what will he do? 4th and 1.
Listen, Mike Tomlin, is there any doubt what he's going to do? Really good job of stepping up in the pocket, getting away from Reuben, number 77. Oh, it is a fumble, and Roethlisberger fell on it. You could kick a field goal, go up 7.
Twice sneaking for first downs today, Roethlisberger. And now with the play clock down to 4. He's not going to get it off in time.
Well, you know, they got me fooled.
Just all the time.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
All the while they were going to go field goal, just trying to get him to jump.
Yeah, but that's what they did, but I actually believe they were going to go for it, just the way Mike Tomlin has managed this game so far, right?
You would have thought.
Yeah, the fake field goal, everything they're doing, the 2-point conversion. But this is the call. Sometimes even Mike Tomlin has to go by the book.
All right, Boswell, 25-yarder. No question. Drills it for the 7-point lead with 5:51 to go in the 3rd quarter.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest. Transparency. Low fares, nothing to hide. Cricket Wireless. something to smile about. And by Toyota. Let's go places.
Pike Place Market here in Seattle. Got a Texan hat down there by the salmon. That's a. You've got to get a little feedback on that here.
I'm gonna tell you,
Part
this,
of
in this
Seahawks country.
town, you don't see nothing
But the 12
Seahawks.
fans.
Of course, last night I walked into the hotel, saw a lot of Steeler fans everywhere too.
One hopper. Picked up by Lockett. And good tackle there. Brought him down. Robert Golden. Today's Next Gen Stats presented by Esurance, auto and home insurance for the modern world. That drive by the Steelers took up almost 7 minutes. So we're inside of 6 to go in the third. Seahawks down 7. Wilson, he's going to run with it this time. Ooh, that was a vicious side hit by Tuitt. Clean play. Let's take a look again at the Next Gen Stats presented by Esurance.
8 yards off on the coverage. Take advantage of it. Throw it inside. Really thought we saw that one drive, Jim, where they attacked the outside of the Steelers defense. They play, you know, I'm not saying they play soft. They're conservative. That's what they do in pass coverage.
And Rawls ducks under the first hit. Gets within 2 of the first. That's a tackle by Arthur Moats. 13 carries for 60 for Thomas Rawls. And he's going to be replaced here by Fred Jackson.
Fred Jackson, we talked about Thomas Rawls, a free agent in the NFL. Fred Jackson, he's a free agent too.
Yeah, he knows all about it out of Cole College.
Yeah, how about his career? So his running backs, big third down for this Seahawk offense.
Oh, the pass was behind Baldwin. He makes sure to cover it up, but it will be incomplete. Not a fumble.
Well, it doesn't matter what the situation. The Steelers are going to make Russell Wilson stand in there. That's pretty evident. They blitz. They got the screen on, but the coverage was, everybody was flying to the football. Here comes the blitz by Timmons. And you can see the nice coverage. That's Cocker on the outside in position to make the tackle.
Play might have worked, but Wilson had to rush it because of the quick pressure. 2 3-and-outs for the Seahawks this quarter. Short kick to Jones. And again, a special teams penalty is on the way.
During the return, illegal block in the back, number 41, receiving team. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. It'll be first down Pittsburgh. Timeout.
Seahawks have done nothing this quarter offensively, and back comes Big Ben.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Find your agent at statefarm.com. And by Levi's. Gear up. Game on.
We're back with the Steelers offense already putting up 331 total yards. It's the first time since 2008 that the Seattle defense in this stadium has given up 2 40-yard plays in a single game. A 41-yard pass to Wheaton, a 40-yard pass to Bryant.
4 wide receivers and a tight end in the backfield.
It's Wheaton shaking off a tackle attempt by Thomas and picking up 7.
Well, Jim, you say, hey, Antonio Brown, all the catches we've seen the last couple weeks in this year and over the years, cover him. But there's other guys. How about Wheaton on the outcut? We've seen him go over the middle. And then Bryant deep down the field seems to be a recurring theme for this Steelers offense every week.
2nd and 3.
Need a lot of good defensive backs to cover this wide receiving group.
And Roethlisberger's on the mark today. He's hit his last 9. Oh, you know it. Just when you say that, he throws the interception. It's Rubin coming away with it.
Did it slip out of his hand, or he was trying to throw such a touch pass over the middle? Oh, he either slips or he's trying to hold the football. You can see Antonio Brown is behind. It doesn't matter. Cam Chancellor was in position to maybe make the interception. If I had to guess, I think he was trying to pull the football or hold on to it as his arm was going forward.
Ataba Rubin. Boy, he doesn't expect to get his hands on the football.
You see Chancellor, though, number 31, he was in great position.
It would have been his otherwise.
And oh, too late. It looks like he squeezed his fingers together as the ball went out of his hand. I think he tried to hold on to it.
From the 37. Looking to strike right away. And almost on the second time. They did, in fact, get it. Graham, what a catch. It was juggled. It was there on the deflection. He hung with it all the way.
Oh, my God.
Incredible grab.
Recaught it on the way to the ground. Russ Cockrell in great position. Couldn't knock it away.
And they're at the 1. They go Rawls. And he powers across for the touchdown. 2 plays after the pick. The Seahawks are an extra point away from tying it.
Well, the Seahawks got up there, lined up quick just in case this is not a catch. But it looked like in the replays that we saw, hand is under it.
No question.
No question, it's a catch.
Incredible grab by Graham. And then not giving that defense a whole lot of time to get set.
Nope.
It's Rawls. And the rookie is across.
That's what you do, Jim. You have a big tight end like Jimmy Graham. He's covered. Give him a chance. That's the league we live in now. And a lot of times, hey, these wide receivers and tight ends come down with the catch. And that game turned quick.
As Hauschka, it's another miss. 3 in the last 2 weeks. And the Steelers stay up by 1. He had not missed a PAT all season until 2 last week. One of them was blocked last week, and this one is as well. Watch 97, Cameron Hayward. Keep Pittsburgh ahead by a point as he blocks the extra point. And there's Mike Tomlin. How big is that 2-point conversion earlier? Has his team up 1. Line drive kick. Enticing for Jones. Oh, he bobbled it for a moment, but got control down at the 27.
Well, we get the interception by Rubin. Good read by him. Couldn't get to the quarterback. And how about this catch? Then Rawls, which we've seen, given the chance today, Jim, runs with power. Well, just one big play after another. Cameron Hayward with the extra point block. Kind of gives momentum and a good feeling back to that Steeler bench after the interception and that catch by Graham.
And Roethlisberger comes out firing to Brown for 11. And that puts Roethlisberger north of 300. 26 of 36, 307.
Yeah, I don't think an interception's really going to shake his confidence, that's for sure. Throwing with most of the day, the rhythm of his of the routes and him releasing the ball has been terrific.
Again, operating without the services of Heath Miller, suffered a rib injury in that first half. Tried to return. Saw the flag flying across as the pass lost 3 to Williams.
Illegal hands to the face, number 77, offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Called on Marcus Gilbert. Saturday, the best game for the best conference, is the biggest of the year as Florida and Alabama take one another on in the SEC championship game. On CBS, Hoople begins with the CBS College Football Championship Saturday and college football today. First and 20. And there's Antonio Brown. Slammed to the ground by Jeremy Lane along with Richard Sherman.
They love this play. They do it a lot. Just going to dart inside. They do it on the goal line. Going in to score. Boy, look at Ben Roethlisberger.
Just got that one past Bruce Irvin.
Yeah, just caught it. Didn't have the laces. Still put the football right on target.
And Brown got back the 10 yards lost to penalty. +1. Second and 9. Good piece of hard running by Jesse James. Now he's had 2 catches in this game. One was the 2-point conversion. And that one right there for 7. He had only 3 on the season coming in.
Well, the best thing he does is as he sees the next wave of talent or defense hitting him, get both hands around that football. Because everybody, most of the time in the defense, is looking at the quarterback. They react fast, and usually a lot of them.
Last minute of the third quarter. And a 3rd and 2 near midfield. Looking for another option. Back's going to go with the deep one. And it is in and out of the hands of Bryant. Shed was there 101.
Good decision by Ben Roethlisberger. Tried to throw it over the middle. The receiver was not open. Boy, look at Bryant. He ran right by Shed.
Yeah, Shed stayed with it.
And you see why the Steelers throw the football deep down the sidelines many times a game. Pass interference. If they don't get that, almost came up with the catch.
Barry's punt. Caught with a man there for the Steelers was right in his face. Shamarko Thomas.
Yep, he was trying to be a little, saw the fair catch. Just got too close.
Well, fair catch was made at the 17.
Interference with the opportunity to catch a punt, number 29 for the kicking team. He cut the receiver's path off to the ball. Be a 15-yard penalty. Be first down, Seattle.
So instead, a good starting point coming up for the Seahawks. Now Thomas backed off at the last moment. Watch Shed here. Second effort coming back after it to take it out of the hands. The discussion with the officials is just now ending. Tomlin talked with them the entire break. Unhappy with the penalty thrown against his own Shamarko Thomas.
Well, they actually made even a little contact. So, I thought it was a good call. Thomas had plenty of time to react, to stay away, because he saw the fair catch signal.
9 seconds left in the third quarter. Rawls is met at the line by Vince Williams. 21-20 Pittsburgh through 3. Back after this message and a word from your local station. Back to the fourth quarter here in Seattle. Getting it started. The final 15 minutes has been a good one. Jim Nance, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson. Coming out with a 2nd and 9. Seahawks had 51 yards of offense in the third quarter. 36 coming on the one play. The catch caught by Jimmy Graham the third time around. This is Curse. And he got close to that first. And the ball came out. And that's Robert Golden who has it in his hands. And the officials say they have not blown the whistle.
I did not hear the whistle. And that just shows you the speed. And everybody kept going to the play. And the extra defenders, when they get to where the ball is, that's what causes fumbles. Oh,
well,
it's coming
Mitchell
out.
Mitchell forced it.
Cockrell pulls it out and recovers it.
Recovered by the defense. First down, Pittsburgh.
You know, he senses he's making the tackle, and there are about 4 of the defenders coming in there to help. So Cockrell watching. Oh, they're going to be tackled. He immediately goes in and starts reaching for the football.
Here's the hit, though. Oh, the ball may have been out of bounds, though, before it was recovered by Cockrell.
That's exactly right. Well, turnover automatically reviewed.
I'm thinking somewhere around in here, the whistle's got to go. The ball is definitely out of bounds before the recovery.
The ruling on the field of a catch, fumble, and recovery by the defense is under further review.
Cockrell's going to have to give that football back, I believe. Yep. Curse, who had a touchdown in the first half, is going to be spared the indignity, I believe.
Reviewing the play, the fumble touched out of bounds prior to being possessed. It'll be third down at the 37-yard line. The game clock will start on my signal.
Which will set up a 3rd and 5. Some hit by Mitchell. They let him play, Phil.
Yep, that's it, Jim. You think, okay, forward progress was stopped, but this has been in place for years with the NFL and the officials. Let them play, let the play out. So you see more plays like that. Instead of with a quick whistle, then you get caught, well, the whistle blew the play dead. Those arguments used to came up, but good no call by the officials, letting the play go.
Well, they load up that right side with 4 receivers. And they go left. And the pass is too low for Jimmy Graham. Bud Dupree. Pressure on Wilson. Watch the rookie 48.
Yeah, well, Will Allen opened up the lane because Gilliam, the right tackle, had to take the blitzer. And that allowed Bud Dupree to come free with the big hit.
No.
Pretty unique formation, trying to get a one-on-one. They got what they wanted, but the pressure was quick.
Ryan, his best punt of the game, but too much. Oh, it started going sideways a yard or 2 deep. So just a net of 43. Super Bowl 40, we've talked about it a few times. Steelers and the Seahawks. Pittsburgh took control of the third quarter. Willie Parker, 75-yard touchdown run. And of course, the Steelers had the trick play. Luke Cowher, and the Steelers go on to win the Lombardi Trophy. And Roethlisberger gave his ring to his father, Ken. Play action. And going for the deep ball. Only Sherman is there. His first interception of the year. And Sherman's got a run back going to the 39 of the Steelers.
Antonio Brown looks like he just got tripped up with his feet with Richard Sherman. Gets up and makes the tackle. Oh, the little push or the hands by Richard Sherman is what knocked Antonio Brown down. Hard to believe with his good coverage. That's his first interception of the year. And of course, Ben Roethlisberger's going, where is the pass interference? Those hands to Antonio Brown were definitely past the 5-yard mark.
Well, we had discussed with Richard yesterday about having not had an interception this year. He's had his hands on 3 or 4. That's the first pick in a 12-game stretch. And Wilson able to bounce off the hit by Dupree, and he's deep into that bench, and a flag has to come out. It's going to be on Timmons.
I think Timmons, just by his reaction, thinks he definitely pushed him before he got out of bounds.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 94, defense. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, the speed of these linebackers. Where is he at? He's in bounds. Well, the point could be the fact that the runner was definitely going out, giving himself up. Maybe that's why they throw the flag, but
also looked a little dramatic too, because Russell would take out 3 guys on the sideline. Thankfully, everybody's back on their feet. But the penalty puts the football at the 24.
Yeah, I don't like the call. Running quarterback, you gotta let the defense play.
Looking for Graham. And Blake got a hand up. And Graham is injured. Graham is injured. What'd you see here?
Well, he gets his right foot.
Right foot. There it was, twisted. Looking at the right knee.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Jared the Galleria of Jewelry. The gift she'll treasure forever. Audi. Challenge all givens. And by FedEx. How the holidays arrive.
Jimmy Graham, the star tight end for Seattle. His leg has been stabilized. Gets a hug from Doug Baldwin, from Russell Wilson. Coach Carroll is there. Joe Jackson with an encouraging word. Landing awkwardly on the pass to the end zone.
Well, against Antoine Blake. Watch his right leg right there. Is where you would think. But you can just tell by his reaction immediately. His arms and hands go up, and he grabbed his knee.
A 2nd and 10 here for Seattle. Wilson has come in and makes a catch. Comes in for Graham, the 3rd-year player out of Rice University down in Houston, has a gain of 12.
Done this a few times today, right down the seam. One thing Pittsburgh has been consistent with right from the start is the fact that they have been blitzing the quarterback, making Russell Wilson play from the pocket. And he's been solid, more than that, 16 to 25, near 200 yards.
Walls. William Gay has him low. Will Allen up high, and they push him back. Gain of 3. Well, you see Jimmy Graham get hurt. Again, the biggest trade of the offseason in the league. And this whole place just fell silent, knowing that so much of what they hope to do the rest of the way centers around having Jimmy Graham on the field.
Well, we talked about it early, didn't we? And we saw him at practice. You watch all the games before this. You could see that he was becoming a part of the team more and more in the passing game. His blocking was getting good, and he was making defenses pay attention to him, which opens up other players.
2nd and 7, and to the end zone, and Curse for the second time today has a touchdown.
They love this play too. They have all the inside receivers running deep down the field. Seams and a little double move by Curse. It's quick, and Russell Wilson put the football exactly where he needed to throw it. Little fake outside, man, that was good route running. And if you're Russ Cockrell, you got to go for it to try to stop it.
Well, with the margin 5, they're going to go for the 2-point conversion. Try to do what Pittsburgh has already done successfully in this game and what the Steelers have done 6 out of 8 times on the year.
Well, from here, to be consistent, you would expect the Steelers to blitz, make Russell Wilson throw it to one of the outside receivers. That looks like that's what they're going to do.
Pass incomplete. That was Kevin Smith. And that was close. Second foot wasn't down. We have our 5th lead change. The Seahawks with 3 interceptions in the game. In all 3 of those, takeaways have been turned into touchdowns. For the 2nd straight week, Russell Wilson has thrown for 3 scores. Some of the early headlines today: the Redskins beat the Giants 5-6. That NFC East just wild. Monster game for Adrian Peterson as Atlanta continues to fall. And Travis Kelce and the Chiefs' 5th straight win. Dance of the day. This is a team that went from 1-5 to now holding a playoff spot at the moment. Jeremy Maclin had a 9-catch performance for 160 and a touch. Roethlisberger's pass in the direction of Marcus Wheaton. Chancellor on the coverage. We're going to send it cross country to the studio in New York. JB.
Palmer puts the Cards up.
We had an unexpected treat in Levi Stadium as Carson Palmer's going to scramble, and he's scrambling and scrambling. He finally gets there to take the lead. Blaine Gabbert on their ensuing drive was stopped on 4th down. Looks like they're going to run the clock out. Arizona up 19-13.
Back to Jim Nance.
All right, thank you, JB and Bart. 2nd and 10. Where will they spot it? Across the 30, that's good for a first. There's only one stadium now in the NFL that Ben Roethlisberger's never played in after coming here today for the first time, and that is Levi Stadium, site of Super Bowl 50.
Well, good job by Ben Roethlisberger finding the matchup that he likes. Bryant against Shed.
On a new set of downs. Looking around and launching for Wheaton. Wheaton has it, and he breaks away for the touchdown. He reached past Lane and then held off the last tackler. That's a 69-yard touchdown to put the Steelers back in front.
Once again, we see Roethlisberger move in the pocket, and as he moves in the pocket, watch him look to make sure nobody's going to chase him down from behind. He knows it's close, he lets it go, and Wheaton just doesn't even break stride.
I don't know what he was doing there at the last second as he looked around the Chancellor. But
there he goes, looks, and he knows, and man, how about that throw? Just ripping it off his back foot.
they're going to go for 2.
Yeah, makes sense. Up one. Try to get a field goal advantage by going for 2.
Roethlisberger just went over 400 yards for the game. Wheaton, 8 catches, 194 yards. In trouble, now throws. And it's intercepted by Sherman. Roethlisberger trying to find Antonio Brown. Sherman has 2 picks in the quarter. But we have our 6th lead change.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Nissan. Innovation that excites. And by Subway, the legendary sweet onion chicken teriyaki. Subway, eat fresh.
11:40 left in this one, which has been a great game from the start and the best game of Marcus Wheaton's career.
Well, Marcus Wheaton has been wanting and telling the coaches, I need more chances. Today, they need him to stand up because Antonio Brown's had a hard time getting open. He's making a case he needs to see the football more.
That's Lockett. Just to clarify, the interception in the end zone on the 2-point try does not statistically count as an official interception, even though we, of course, saw it, exactly what happened by Sherman, but doesn't get credit for it as a pick. Let's go down to Tracy.
Jim, a really tough scene watching Jimmy Graham being carted off on the air cast on his right knee. He was taken directly to the stadium x-ray room where he is right now. We most likely will not have any more information before the game is done, but if we do, I will certainly pass it along. Another injury on the Seahawks sideline. Cornerback Marcus Burley has an ankle. He is doubtful. And 2 updates from the Steelers sideline. Ryan Shazier out with the concussion officially, and Heath Miller as well, done for the day with a ribs injury.
Thank you, Tracy. You saw Shazier on the sideline as Wilson is able to take it for 10 in the first.
They thought this play, the zone read, faking it inside, and Russell Wilson, they thought it was going to be big today. But that time James Harrison just didn't quite take the right angle, and it took a terrific play by Russell Wilson to get some yards out of it. I think they underestimated the speed of these linebackers, thinking, oh, if we fake them, get them off balance just a little, you can get around the edge. You find out you cannot.
Rawls wrestled down by Spence. Again, Thursday night, we're going to be in Detroit for the Packers and the Lions. That's on CBS and the NFL Network. And then a week from Thursday, NFL Network only. How about Minnesota and Arizona?
Well, they both look pretty good to me.
And they both won today.
What about that Detroit game? You looked 3 weeks ago, you go, wow, what a disaster that game's going to be. But they've changed everything.
3 straight wins by the Lions. Well, the Packers have struggled a lot in recent weeks. Wilson spinning around and finding Lockett, who lands in the arms of Gay, but he's got a first down at the Seattle, at the Pittsburgh 48.
Well, you know, look, the coverage down the field is, there's nothing initially really, well, it is on the outside. As you watch Lockett, they're worried about the inside receiver. Russell Wilson finally dodges all the defenders and finds Tyler Lockett uncovered on the sideline.
Lockett, who had a 2-touchdown game last week against the Niners. All 3 of his touchdown catches this season came against San Francisco. Fake to Jackson, and a little toss to Baldwin, and another first down at the 34.
Well, this is the play they run every week too. There's certain things that Seattle does, they repeat them. Baldwin all the way across, underneath, going the opposite way of the play action fake, and they hit it. They got about 5 or 6 plays in this offense that they run every single week, and I'll tell you, most of the time they work. Seams, which we've seen a few of them today, the misdirection pass.
Inside of 9 minutes, it's Rawls up the gut to the 30. Give him 4. Roethlisberger and the Steelers. They've beaten the other 3 teams in Seattle's division this year. 3-0. But the Seahawks, who have led in the fourth quarter of every game they played this year, their 5 losses, all of them that gave away leads. 2nd and 6. Open! It's Baldwin! And he's got the touchdown! His 2nd today.
Once they get near the 30-yard line, they love to take shots to the end zone. And what do? They're going to clear it out, and then Baldwin's going to go up the sideline, and you're going to see good sell, little fake, and it just, the defense, it's not played well. You can't leave that outside of the field uncovered. Will Allen chases him.
Hard to believe he was that open.
Well, you know what happens? William Gay's looking to the inside receiver. When he breaks out, he took his eyes off of him because it's not his guy anymore. So, well-designed play beat the defense.
And another 2-point attempt coming up. Rawls. Can he run it in? No, he's pushed back. Cameron Hayward, along with James Harrison, preventing this from going to 7. There's Mike Mitchell ready to help out as well. 2 for Kearse, 2 for Baldwin, 4 for the game by Russell Wilson.
You know, certain tendencies teams have. Boy, Pete Carroll can celebrate with the best of them. I tell you, he warmed up pretty well today too. I always watch him before the game throwing the ball, but doesn't lose his game management. He knew right away, let's go for 2. They'd probably already talked about it. But once the Seahawks, they love, you talked about too, hey, they don't score a lot from close in. They score a lot from out because of plays like we just saw. Sure, they practice it a lot. That type of play is the one that their defense struggles with all the time, and they're probably giving them a lot of looks, and they've gotten very good at that themselves.
Carroll's seen his quarterback complete his last 5 passes for 80 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Only 7 lead changes. We still have 8 minutes to play.
Think of the Steelers, you think of the Seahawks, just your first perception is, hey, this is going to be a low-scoring game.
Jones out of bounds at about the 26. And again, just to reset for both of these teams, they're so far back in their own divisions, but they're in the chase for playoff berths, NFC, AFC, wild card. The winner of this game will hold a position. The loser will be out at this point. Of course, we've got a lot of weeks to go, but it's a critical game on each side.
Well, sure it is, because the margin of error is getting shorter and shorter. The season, so few games left, but hard to predict the outcome of anything, how it's going to turn out. So if you do lose this game, you're still going to have a chance to get in the playoffs.
Crowd noise at full thrust. And Roethlisberger from the gun cuts his losses. AFC side, Cincinnati with that 9-2 record. Steelers at 6-4. Kansas City has worked its way into the 6th position at the moment. You saw those other teams that were on the board on that AFC playoff ledger. If the Steelers lost this game to go to 6-5.
Ruling on the field was an incomplete pass. The clock kept running. Please reset the game clock to 8:04. 8:04 on the clock. Clock will start on the snap.
Our man Ethan Cooperson with our official stats said at 6-5, again with 5 more games to play, but at the moment the Steelers would fall behind if they lost this game, behind Kansas City, Houston, and the New York Jets in terms of tiebreakers at the moment. 2nd and 10. Waiting for something to open, and it does. Splitting the defenders and picking up the first. D'Angelo Williams. Hey, got a little chip on Michael Bennett at the start of this, and then he went out. Watch him here.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then became the receiver.
That's a knockdown. Good job by Roethlisberger looking deep down the field. Nothing open. Dropped it off to Williams.
And Williams, who played his last game as a member of the Carolina Panthers, his home the first 9 years in the league, played his last game here at this stadium in the divisional game last year between Seattle and Carolina. Pressure, but plenty of time to get it away. Roethlisberger over the shoulder. Do they give it? They give it to Wheaton.
What a throw. What a catch. Wheaton having the game of his life. The inside goal route. In other words, they've been running down the sideline, but this time from the slot position.
Going to hurry up and try to get the next snap off. And they do.
Pete Carroll challenged. He couldn't get the flag out.
He got it out in time. Because the question's going to be, at what point did Wheaton have possession?
Right. No, Pete never got the flag out, but he yelled at him, "I want the challenge." He's still looking for it. Can't get it out of his back pocket.
Seattle is challenging the ruling on the field of a completed pass.
See, the first foot, when it's down, did he have possession of the football? It was a 28-yard pass play if it holds up.
Beautiful touch on the football. Over. Catch. I'm going to say it's a catch because he caught it so cleanly.
Well, right at the first, there is a little bobble here. So he has to re-grab it.
There you go. Good one.
All right, Mike Carey. You are back in New York, and what do you see here?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think that this is going to stand as a catch. He has control. There is not enough evidence of loss of control. Gets both feet down in bounds and maintains control.
Watch this, though, Mike. I'm not on that. I'm not agreeing with that.
Okay.
I think that ball was juggled before he got the second foot down. See, doesn't quite. That's when he possesses it right there.
Yeah, his hands definitely do come off the football. It's really close.
See, that's the first foot down, but does he have possession?
Right
because the ball's out of his hands there.
Oh, you're right there. Didn't have that clear of a look.
So, Mike, after another look, what do you see?
Yeah, I stand corrected. I think there was enough of a bobble there. That should come back as incomplete.
Okay.
Well, Mike, I can hear you're a little under the weather. Way to tough it out. But, you know, you're right. When you slow it down to super slow motion, you can see the hands come off. You know, the first replay I saw, oh, that's clean. He caught it clean, but you could. The right hand came off, that's for sure. Jim, so you convinced enough evidence there to overturn? Well, the fact that he's talking about this looks like we're looking for whether we stop the football. Catch or not, beautiful throw.
You saw that in real speed coming right to the camera. You can imagine how hard it is for the officials just to see that little tiny bobble.
Well, it's impossible for him to see it because it was so quick and so little.
After reviewing the play, the receiver did not have control of the ball until the second foot was out of bounds. The pass is incomplete. It'll be at 2nd and 10 on the 39-yard line. Please reset the game clock to 7:22. Seattle is not charged with a timeout.
He had to grab it a second time, and once he did that, he only got 1 foot down. So 28 yards. Comes back. Ball will be at the 39. And it'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, when you play the Steelers, win or lose this game today, you know you're going to have 3 or 4 defensive backs play well to stop this passing attack.
We got a matchup here, Antonio Brown and Jeremy Lane. Sherman is on Bryant. In traffic, it's broken up by a flying Chancellor and Sherman. 3rd and 10.
If you just waited, I think Antonio Brown is going to come open down the sideline. Watch how fast Richard Sherman reacts inside. I know he's watching the quarterback, but Antonio Brown closed the gap so fast. Could have been a chance for a big play.
They blitz, passes away, and it's incomplete. But a flag. A flag is at midfield, and Roethlisberger is down. He was hit by Irvin. I see 2 flags on the field, one back, all the way back at the Steelers' 20, and one in the area where the pass was thrown near midfield.
Yeah, I think they're going to call Richard Sherman for holding.
There are multiple fouls by the defense. Holding number 25 defense. That penalty is declined. Personal foul roughing the passer number 72 defense. Contact to the head of the quarterback. 15-yard penalty. 1st down.
First time Seattle's been penalized in the 2nd half, and it's a big one on a 3rd and 10.
Oh, yes. Michael Bennett. You know, sometimes you get unlucky. Roethlisberger's hit, forced him into him. Helmet-to-helmet contact with the quarterback, 15 yards.
That'll put the football on the Seattle side of the 50. Looks over to Bryant, comes the other way, and reading it all the way on Williams is Mike Morgan. Drops him for a loss of a couple. For those of you expecting to see 60 minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS, the Steelers and the Seahawks. It's been a good one from the start. Jim Nance, Phil Simms, Tracy Wolfson, and our entire team here, Lance Barrow, Mike Arnold, and the crew. 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following the game, except on the West Coast. 2nd and 12. In traffic, Roethlisberger fortunate to throw that one into the ground because Sherman had full lockdown on Antonio Brown.
Yeah, Richard Sherman just winning the battle with his hands, but here comes the blitz. KJ Wright. Ben Roethlisberger at the last second looks for Antonio Brown. Richard Sherman all over him.
It's a 3rd and 12 for Pittsburgh, with 6.5 remaining. Darius Hayward-Bay makes a rare appearance. Here's a pass to Williams. Shakes off the tackle. What a big breakaway from Jeremy Lane to pick up the first. They're going to stop him 3 or 4 yards short. It's going to be 4th down. Instead, they got a new set of downs.
Yeah, he comes out of the backfield. They got the perfect defense on. But look, he breaks the tackle by Lane, then splits 2 other defenders to pick up the 1st down. Boy, D'Angelo Williams might be the pickup of the year. The
picks up 14. And Pittsburgh's operating with a new set of downs at the 34. Timeout. He was battling the play clock. It was down to a second. Chance to remind you, next Sunday, regional action, including the Jets and the Giants. Houston on a hot streak up at Buffalo. Baltimore, Miami, Jacksonville, Tennessee. Some will see their game late. Denver, San Diego, or Kansas City at Oakland. Another game that will have strong playoff implications, with the Raiders getting back in the win column today. And Kansas City again on a roll. All getting started with the NFL Today at noon Eastern. Next Sunday on CBS.
How about this? 3 rushes, 24 passes. What the Pittsburgh Steelers, they were, of course, encouraged by their pass protection in the first half. And if you're trying to win the game, who do you put you keep the hands or the football in the hands of your quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger.
Steelers moving in on 500 total yards of offense, but down 5. There's a first down play. Pump fake and wide open. And falling for the first is Will Johnson.
He was trying. They did something different. They finally moved Antonio Brown to get him a little double move, but the defense stayed back. Another good job of finding the secondary receiver by Ben Roethlisberger.
4th first down of this drive. A drive that saw a 28-yard pass play taken away off a successful challenge. The Steelers, undaunted, complete another one. It's Wheaton with a couple of Seahawks surrounding him. Gain 7. He's over 200 receiving, 9 catches.
Well, he stuck it in there. Earl Thomas read the quarterback. I'm actually seeing the Seahawks play a couple of defenses that they never play, because they're just trying to find a way to stop this passing offense.
Speaking of passing, Big Ben 450 yards on the nose. Again, pump fake, wide open. And securing it is Spaeth to the 10. Just his 2nd catch of the year.
Antonio Brown down at the bottom. Nobody's open. But the good thing is, the second guy that Ben Roethlisberger's looking at, just like Spaeth the last time, wide open.
And they've got 1st and goal right at the 10 after the 6-yard pass to Spaeth. Roethlisberger backs off his own lineman and now just flings it out of bounds.
Now the play, I guess the pressure was in his way and Roethlisberger couldn't see. Watch Wheaton come underneath. That's what they're trying to do. He comes under, they're crossing. Oh, he's got him, but the pressure, the push of the pocket distracted him, couldn't find him.
The 456, an all-time record by a Seattle opposing quarterback. 2nd and goal. Back to the end zone. And over the head of Bryant.
Well, it's, again, 2 linebackers blitzing along with the pass rush. Great coverage.
Now you wonder, what would you do here if they didn't do anything with the 3rd down? With 3:43 to go, 2 timeouts. Would you go field goal to knock it down to 2?
A lot might depend on what they do with this play. If they pick up some yards, Mike Tomlin will probably go for it.
3rd and goal. Roethlisberger gets away from the heat, takes off, takes on the challenge, and is knocked down by KJ right at the 4. Decision time.
He's already made that decision. Before
He's
I can even think
it.
about it, he's going to kick the field goal. You know, the thing is, if he goes for it and doesn't make it, he needs a touchdown to win. He would probably have to use his timeouts. That's the reason why he's kicking this field goal, where it only takes a field goal to win the game instead of a touchdown.
22 yards for Boswell. And he gets it with exactly 3 minutes remaining.
So I like the call, Jim. Just explain the way that's what how you have to think of it. Gives him a little more room for error when you only need a field goal instead of a touchdown.
Remember, they had to use one timeout earlier on that drive, as they were about to be penalized for a delay of game. Talking to Joey Porter on the sideline.
And Carnell Lane.
Yep. Well, the week continues tonight. New England and Denver. And then tomorrow, Baltimore and Cleveland on ESPN. That game tonight on NBC. And then Green Bay and the Lions will have it for you Thursday night on CBS and NFL Network. Wilson loosening up. He's had his first 4-touchdown game of the season, coming off his first 3-touchdown game of the season last week.
Well, the Steelers, their defense, we're going to keep him in the pocket, show us that he can beat us throwing the ball from the pocket. And I would say 20 of 29, 265, 4 touchdowns. I would love those numbers.
Well, that's
Russell Wilson's throwing, though, Jim. We were talking about a lot yesterday, just really controlling the ball and throwing it with such power and accuracy. Just underrated.
Well, Seattle has protected the 10 yards across, and Lockett's up at the 20. They're lining up like they want to be sure there's not an onside attempt here. I'd be surprised to see it.
I thought I might see something different there from the kicker. You only got one guy back.
Yeah, I'd go ahead and just try to do something, make him scramble for it.
That's right. Play wasn't ready to be called.
Again, the NFC playoff picture. If the Seahawks win at 6-5, they would actually move ahead on tiebreakers at the moment ahead of Atlanta, and they would be into the top 6.
Steelers,
AFC side.
Sorry, Jim, but just the Steelers knowing the situation, you got to play aggressive. You can't sit back. So that means the corners have to come through with tight coverage against the wide receivers.
And you expect Pittsburgh to go to their timeouts right away? Give it a chance?
Yes, I do.
Rawls. Flag. Tomlin already saying he's going to refuse it.
Illegal formation, offense. Number 79 was on the end of the line, uncovered. That penalty is declined. It's 2nd down.
So the wide receiver to the side of the right tackle, Gary Gilliam, was not on the line of scrimmage. And that really is a huge help to the Steelers because that penalty
Stop the clock.
Stops the clock. Don't have to use the timeout.
2nd and 7. Rawls, he lost the football, but is able to fall on it. Back at the 20.
Just slips out of Rawls' hands. A little high on the handoff, but he knocks it out.
Pittsburgh elects to let the timeouts stay in the pocket.
That's right. They're going to let this play go. If they stop them, most likely a pass. The 2-minute warning, still plenty of 2 timeouts. A lot of time to get in position for a field goal.
3rd and 9, and Jackson's in the backfield.
Yep, blitzing.
Here they come. Pass across the middle, and it's caught for the first. It's Baldwin shaking free and sprinting down the sideline for the touchdown. His third of the day. Doug Baldwin.
Russell Wilson stood in there like he's done it all day. They got the blitz coming. Bud Dupree is coming free, but Russell Wilson did not flinch. Here comes Dupree around. Oh, he stands right in there, and he throws it hard enough where the backside defender couldn't knock it down.
Seattle's longest play of the season, 80 yards. And now the extra point. We've already seen Hauschka miss one. It's huge to make it a 2-score differential. This one's good. Terrible tackling today by the Pittsburgh defensive backs. And it crushed him right here.
Yeah, it did. Jim coming across. Good separation. And boy, look at the straight arms. Or the stiff arms, I should say. But you know, the thing is, Russell Wilson got to be excited about his play the last couple weeks. Darrell Bevell, the offensive coordinator, has come under fire, and what a game they've called once again. What a difference. This is why it gives the Seahawks some hope. Last week they did it by moving the quarterback and having an offense throwing from the outside. Today he's done it from the pocket, Russell Wilson.
And he has his first 5 touchdown performance of his career.
So, you know, when you talk about the Seahawks team, you can't just sit here and go, oh, this, you know, the defense, it's going to dictate this, you know, the game. No, it's their offense the last few weeks, and Ben Roethlisberger, I don't think he's going to come back in.
Talking to the team doctor, Dr. James Bradley, 2:01 to go. By the way, the 5 touchdown passes by Wilson ties the team record. Matt Hasselbeck had done it twice, Warren Moon once, and your buddy Dave Craig did it 3 times.
Saw him down the field before the game today. My man.
Always good to catch up with him. Jacoby Jones is hammered at the 17. What a tackle there by Marsh. We got the 2-minute warning. And Landry Jones is coming in. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and the Daredevils, who are taking on one of the most forbidding mountains in the world. Followed by new episodes, Madam Secretary, The Good Wife, CSI Cyber, only CBS. Roethlisberger heading to the locker room. Landry Jones, remember the last play for Roethlisberger was his attempt on 3rd and 10. He scrambled down to about the 4-yard line.
That's right.
He was talking to the doctors on the sideline. He did have that one hit on the roughing the passer call against Bennett, where his head snapped back, maybe as part of the concussion protocol.
That's right.
But that was from that late hit earlier in that drive. He stayed into the rest of that drive. Here's a 2nd and 10 over to Williams. Somehow he gets free, and he's off and running to the 48 of Seattle with 1:45 to go and 2 timeouts.
Oh man, what a good call. And D'Angelo Williams, if you think like, oh, he's been in the league too long and he's lost those legs, man can still run.
He's caught 7 passes for 88 yards for the game.
1:45, 2 timeouts. always knowing it takes 2 scores. So if you get in a situation where you have to, you kick the field goal first.
Going for the long ball and the big strike and a jump ball. Kim Chancellor came down with it. Look, it's in the hands, though, at the end of Bryant. It already ruled an interception for Seattle.
Definitely has possession of the football.
At what point is the play over?
Plays over, taken to the ground. Still has possession.
I'm not sure right here if he does when he rolls over, but is the play already dead? Because Bryant ends up with it.
Is under further review.
Well, since he's being taken to the ground, just like a receiver,
who's got it now?
You got to get up with the football. But is the play over after he's hit the ground
That's
and
my
rolled
question.
over?
What point was it ruled dead? Was the play over because Bryant ends up with the football?
Okay, goes to the ground, still has possession. Now he rolls over. I still think he has it. As he comes up, I'm saying interception. We'll see if all the lessons that Mike Carey has taught me over the year, because, you know, Jim, we discuss catch and no catch all the time, and they've defined the rule.
It's a topic every week,
yeah.
Let's be honest.
But it's always a little bit of judgment in there. I thought he had possession.
Mike Carey is teed up back in the studio in New York. And Mike, what do you see on this one?
Well, this is one that's really talk about dual possession. There was not dual possession coming in, but when the receiver hits the ground and the defender comes in, the ball comes loose, is out of bounds. When the ball is loose, that ball should be incomplete at that spot.
Wow. That is...
How about that?
I honestly have never heard that. And we worked hard
Mike,
at this.
Mike, look at this. The play is still alive right here.
Maintain control
okay.
when he hits the ground.
He's still got control.
Both players have the ball, and the ball comes loose. It's kind of survival of the fittest. The ball comes loose. Should be an incomplete pass.
Is this an easy one for Blandino and Walt, you think? Mike?
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field of an interception stands. First down.
So, Mike, what did they see that you didn't see?
Well, what they went with is that they believe there wasn't enough clear evidence. But we didn't see clear control when he hit the ground. Both players, their hands are on it. And the receiver must maintain control when he goes out of bounds. When the ball comes loose at this point, it's being ripped away from the defender. That should be incomplete in my opinion.
All right, Mike Carey. Now, here is the problem as they run it with Rawls. Here's the problem with replay, the catch rule, all of this, is you have a guy like Mike Carey, a distinguished official for so many years, presided over a Super Bowl and many other gigantic games in his career. If he was sitting on top of this game, it would have been a different call. And all this is supposed to get back to almost like some sort of indisputable type definition in the end, whether it's a catch or a no catch. And he sees it one way, someone else sees it another way, and it's just never clear.
Yeah, I understand. You're right, Jim, but it's never going to be clear, you know, because somewhere along the lines, there's judgment. It's like balls and strikes. Did it catch the corner and plate? Well, one umpire says yes, the next one says no.
This Rawls within a yard of the first.
But that was a new one for me. But we've seen some offensive display today here by these teams. And we look at this interception. Cam Chancellor's had another outstanding day, by the way. See, my point is, caught it. Football move on the ground possession. Now they rip it, fight. Mike saw it differently. But again, everybody wants, I love this one. Well, we all know what a catch is. I love that one. But we can't leave it at that. Then we really would have a lot of arguments. So the NFL's trying. They're going to work on it again this offseason. Try to refine the rule, define it even more. But I don't know if that's possible. So we're just going to have to live with it.
Steelers have used their last timeout. Stretching out for the first down is Coleman. Derek Coleman enables now the Seahawks just to take a kneel down or two and call this one complete. If they marked it where I thought they were going to.
I know this, the Steelers, they got so many good parts to this football team. They just got to find a way to slow down the other team's passing attack. Johnny Manziel threw it all over the field on him last week, and we saw Russell Wilson here today have an outstanding day. The 28th in the league against the pass. They're going to fall farther after this game.
So giving the Seahawks the win with 1:09 to go, no ability for Pittsburgh to stop the clock. New set of downs coming up. 6-5 puts them, they slide into that 6th spot at the moment. And now you see where Pittsburgh goes. This is all in some sort of gigantic computer algorithm somewhere, all these different permutations and tie breaks. And at the moment,
I can't get over the wild card in the AFC right now. Two teams that, man, we wiped off the map a long time ago, Kansas City and Houston. So this thing's going to change a lot.
You look back on that field goal try when it got to 32-30 with the Boswell kick. You know, at the time it sure made perfect sense to go ahead and kick it. Had they gone for it on 4th down and missed, Seattle would have been at least pinned deep, and you would have had 2 timeouts.
Yeah, I understand.
Down 5.
I like what he did. No second guessing at all on that decision. They had him in 3rd and long, a runner going free. And Russell Wilson, the coverage wasn't there, and the tackling, as you said all day long by the defensive backs, was bad.
Yeah, it really was. Both teams walk off the field at 6-5. 974 yards of total offense. Wheaton's 201 yards on 9 catches. Not in a winning effort for the Steelers today. And of course the Seahawks will be anxious. Wilson has his first 5 touchdown performance. They'll be anxious to find out the status of Jimmy Graham. Well, the final score here is Seattle 39 and Pittsburgh 30. Tonight on CBS, there's been an alteration in the lineup. 60 Minutes will be followed by new episodes of Madam Secretary and The Good Wife. Because of the length of this game, CSI Cyber will be seen next week. Phil, it was a doozy.
It was awesome.
Yep.
It was a lot of fun to see. A lot of great players, good matchups, 2 good football teams.
For Phil and Tracy and all the crew, Jim Nance saying so long from Seattle. You've been watching the NFL on CBS, home of Super Bowl 50.